Let's go ahead and prepare a production report for process costing using the FIFO method. First, let's pick up our given information. Looking down here, we've got 600 units in beginning work in process, so we pick that up. And it's 60% complete with respect to materials, 53% with respect to conversion costs. Then in the current period, we started 4,000 units into production, and ending inventory was 1,200 units at 40% complete with materials, 20% with respect to conversion cost. The costs for the period, our beginning work in process had 976 in direct materials and 272 in conversion, and then we added during the period 11,440 for direct materials and 6,644 for conversion costs. Let's go ahead now and put together our process costing production report. First, let's calculate our equivalent units. First thing we have to do up top is to calculate the number of units we completed and transferred out. We had 600 in beginning work in process. We started 4,000, meaning we've got 4,600 we have to account for. Since we have 1,200 in ending work in process, that means we transferred out 3,400 units. On a FIFO basis, we have to keep separate, though, the units that we started during the period and those that were there at the beginning. Our beginning work in process was 6,000 or 600 units. Since we transferred out 3,400 units, we know that we started and completed the 3,400 minus the 600, or 2,800 units, and ending work in process would be the 1,200 units. If we were to add that up, that would equal the 4,600 units we had to account for. All right, the beginning units. They were 60% complete, so we had to add 40% to that. So our equivalent units would be our 600 times the quantity, 1 minus 60%. So we had 240 equivalent units of production this period to complete the units that were sitting in beginning work in process for direct materials. For conversion costs, it's that 600 times the quantity, 1 minus 53%, 282 equivalent units. Anything that we current period started and transferred out, we're 100%. So the 2,800 times 100%, and again the 2,800 times 100%. Our ending work in process, we've got 1,200 units, and those are 40% complete with respect to direct materials. So we have 480 equivalent units, and they're 20% complete with respect to conversion. So we only have 240 units there. And we can add up and calculate our total equivalent units for the period, 3,520 for direct materials and 3,322 for conversion costs. On our FIFO method, the first thing we're going to want to do when we talk about costs is any cost that we have in beginning inventory, the 976 and the 272, we're going to want to assign those to the units that we transferred out. So we can pick those up directly down below and assign those to the cost of units that we transferred out. The remaining costs during the period were 11,440 for direct materials and 6,644 for conversion cost. Those costs are what we're going to want to use in our cost per unit, cost per equivalent unit calculations down below. So we'll go ahead and pick those up right here. Just to make life easier later on, let's go ahead and total up our total costs so we can reconcile it later on. 12,416, 6,916, and we can do the same over here. We've got the 976 plus the 272, and we've got the 1140 plus the 6644. So 19,000 in total costs. In terms of cost incurred during the period, though, that's our 18,000, or again, that's our 11 plus the 6. Cost per equivalent unit. Let's go ahead and pick up our equivalent units. We had 3,520 equivalent units for direct materials. So 11,440 divided by the 3,520 gives us a cost per equivalent unit of $3.25. Our conversion cost for the period of $6,644, we want to divide that by our 3,322 equivalent units for conversion costs, and we get a cost per equivalent unit of $2. Now, down below, we've already accounted for the cost that we're beginning work in process inventory. We assigned those to the units that were transferred out. Now we need to take the equivalent units that we transferred out, which is the 240 that we finished, plus the 2,800, and we need to multiply that by our 325 cost per equivalent unit. For conversion cost, we'll do the exact same thing, and we get 6,164. Adding those together, we've got 16,044, and the remaining costs for the period, the difference between the 18 and the 16, will be the cost of our ending work in process inventory. And we had 480 units times 325, and we had 240 units times the $2. And adding those together, 2,040, we can see the sum of our cost incurred during the current period is $18,084, which is right there. Once we pick up the costs of our beginning work in process, the 976 and the 272, we've accounted for all of our costs. And if we had to do a subtotal here, actually we're going to add up these two numbers to get our total cost of ending work in process inventory. So our total cost transferred out, 17,292. That was the cost that was there at the beginning work in process, the cost we added this period. And again, we want to check and make sure our 19,000 total cost agrees with our 19,332 total cost to account for.